Namaste. I am Vaidya Rammanohar, an Ayurveda practitioner by training, serving in this field for the last 30 years as a practitioner, researcher, and teacher. I am here before you with this video to clarify a statement in the Ayurveda page of Wikipedia where I have been misquoted. The statement goes like this: Ayurveda practitioner Ram P. Manohar writes that Ayurveda has been alternatively characterized as pseudoscientific, proto-scientific, and unscientific, and proposes himself that it should be termed trans-scientific. Now, if you look at the whole page, it's quite obvious that the editors have a malicious intent and want to portray Ayurveda in a very derogatory manner. And such misquotes seem to serve their purpose by giving the impression to the readers that there are people within the Ayurvedic community who also, promote and harbor the view of the editor that Ayurveda is pseudoscientific or proto-scientific, or could be characterized as unscientific. Now, I would like to make a clarification here. This statement is taken from a book, which is actually a transcript of a talk that I gave during a conference on science, spirituality, and healing. This was a decade ago, at a time when, people were beginning to think about a more expansive approach in medicine, in healing, and the role of Ayurveda, how it can bring this expanded vision in looking at the human being in the context of healing was being explored. So I would like to now very briefly bring about this clarification. So here the whole focus is on placing science, spirituality, and healing, on a common platform. And I have to say, this is basically, there are challenges in explaining terminologies. This dichotomy between science and spirituality does not really exist in the tradition of Ayurveda. What we understand as Shastra incorporates, both science and spirituality. So when you say science, spirituality is not included. When you say spirituality, science is not included. Whereas when we say Shastra, both get automatically included. So there is this big difference. So the whole discussion here is that when you look at healing in the context of Ayurveda, there is already this harmony of science and spirituality. Whereas when you look at it from the point of view of modern medicine, there is not this natural coming together of science and spirituality. So what do we mean here by the spiritual element? Here is just that the human being is visualized as something more than just the physical body and the mechanistic framework of understanding body functions. We have other dimensions. There is the mind and then the spirit, or the self as we call it. So looking at the human being in totality as the body, mind, and self is the whole focus of bringing science, spirituality, and healing together. So in this context, I was clarifying that in Ayurveda, Sattvamatma Shariram Cha Trayameta Tridandavat. This is a very fundamental proposition that Sattva, Atma, and Sharira, these are the tripods on which life, constitutes rather the tripod on which life exists. So in that sense, we cannot reduce Ayurveda to the so-called scientific mechanistic thinking. And I clearly maintain the position that Ayurveda is not pseudoscientific, not proto-scientific, cannot be characterized as, unscientific. I have spent 3 decades researching. I've been involved in some of the most rigorous kind of researches, scientific researches that have happened in Ayurveda. And there's no way, I take great pride in being a practitioner of the system of medicine. And there's no way I can characterize it as pseudoscientific or proto-scientific or unscientific for that matter. So here the whole idea is that Ayurveda is perhaps more futuristic. it is already looking at a more complete, vision of the human being, integrating body, mind, and self. And that is why I was pointing out in that article that Ayurvedic vision is in that way trans-scientific, where science means, the reductionistic, body-centered system of medicine that is dominant today. So let me stop here. I will come back again with more clarifications on this point, and also on many other objectionable representations about Ayurveda that we can find on this page about Ayurveda on Wikipedia, and which seems to have been very recently edited with some malicious intent. But that's all for now. Namaste.